Okay. Hey, Michelle. Okay. Welcome, welcome. Now, can you please give me a little hi?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, wow. Thank you for joining. And sorry, guys, Zoom has updated, so things are a little bit different at my end, but if you could please just mute your audio for me, if you can find that, that would be amazing. Awesome. And what I'm going to do is the chat box, if you can see that or activate that, there's a little icon down there to click on that. And this is where you can ask questions during the cooking class to, you know, if there's anything there that's coming up for you when we go through the fermented recipes, please pop that in the question box and I can answer that for you as we go. Plus, I'm also just going to pop in here now my email address, because even though I will read out the ingredients for you guys for the sauerkraut and the bread, I can email them to you as well. So just email them to me, email me after class, and hopefully you guys can see that email address there, and then I can email out to you the recipes so that you know, if you feel like you're missing anything during the class, don't panic. You're going to get the recipe as well. If you email me, that is the key. You have to email me. Okay, welcome guys. So tell me, who is new to ferments? Who's completely new to ferments? Just type a yes or a no in the comments box, yeah, or raise your hands for those of you that I can see. Thanks, Michelle. I can see that you're completely new. Awesome. I absolutely adore fermented foods because they helped me heal from a condition called systemic candida. For those of you that maybe have followed me for a while, I had this condition for a very long time, and systemic candida is a fungus that takes over. Excuse me, I'm just trying to organize this laptop so you can actually see the kitchen bench. Yeah, so this fungus takes over the body, and it's a neurotoxin, and it gets into the blood-brain barrier, and it basically, you're sick from head to toe. It's not very pleasant at all. And when I started my healing journey, I discovered fermented foods as part of my healing journey. And this, as soon as I started eating sauerkraut, it was like a war was going on. And it was basically the good bacteria were killing off the bad. And I literally probably healed within 2 months of having sauerkraut in my diet every day. So it's extremely powerful, extremely healing. Now, just a quick question, guys. Can you see my chopping board? Can you see cabbage? Yeah? Awesome, because I'm kind of struggling to tell how much it can be because I'm not actually in the main screen. So if there's anything that you can't see when I'm doing this, just give me a shout. Pop that in the comments box, and I can move things around for you guys. So, fermented foods, super healing, super powerful. I recommend when you start doing fermented foods, to start off slow. Once you've made this recipe, I recommend having it in like a tablespoon, maybe with your main meal every day, and then slowly build up. Yeah, can everybody mute, please? Whoever's got the audio on, if you could mute, that would be amazing. Thanks, guys. And then if you need to ask a question, please just pop them in the chat box below. That would be awesome. So yeah, as I was saying, so start off slowly because it's so powerful. If you do start to eat too much of this all at once, you'll start to get a detox reaction, you'll start to get die-off, and you'll probably feel more bloated and start to get headaches or start to feel a bit icky before you feel better, which is what happened to me because I started to eat so much of it because I absolutely love the flavor and I could tell that it was healing my body. But I did get a lot of detox reactions. So if you want to avoid that, start with a tablespoon to have with your meals 3 times a day, and then you can increase to say maybe half a cup. And now what I do and what you'll get to experience is, you know, you can start to then use sauerkraut and other recipes like a bread or a guacamole, or stir it through a dip and all sorts of fun things like that. Even blending it and turning it into a beautiful dressing is also great as well for the gut. So what are the benefits of fermented food? So with sauerkraut specifically, well, first of all, it pre-digests your food. So it's going to help you break down carbs, proteins, and fats, which is amazing if we have poor digestion. And it also strengthens the colon wall. So it helps prevent leaky gut. So if anyone's having kind of leaky gut issues, you know, you're not absorbing nutrients very well, it's this type of food is really going to help strengthen and tighten up the gut wall to stop the food from coming into the bloodstream. It also kills tumors, so it's very good fighting cancer. It helps with hormones. It helps especially with detoxifying bad estrogen. So a lot of us women, we have a lot of high estrogen as we get older. We're not detoxifying that too well. This food is going to help you with that. Pretty cool. And then it also helps detoxify environmental toxins too. So things like all these pollutants in our environment, and in the water and the food and the air that we breathe. And then it also increases, of course, a good strain and a good variety of good bacteria, which is our aim of the game every day, is to get as many strains of good bacteria in as possible. And everything that we're putting into the sauerkraut as well is actually going to increase the vitamin and mineral content of that food simply through the process of fermentation. So think about all these amazing superfoods we can be adding to this recipe as well. It's going to up the nutrient and vitamins and antioxidant properties of those foods. Amazing stuff, hey? Awesome. Okay, so tonight I'm going to give you the basic sauerkraut recipe. So you're going to need 1 whole cabbage. If you've got a pen and paper handy, please write that down. And then obviously a nice big bowl if you have one as well to cut it all into. And then we're going to be using our Himalayan pink salt or Celtic sea salt. So no iodized table salt, it won't work. We need to make sure this stuff has the minerals in it. So I've got Himalayan pink. And then really that's it. We just need a 1 litre mason jar or a 32 ounce if you're from America. This is a standard mason jar. There's nothing fancy about it. Now, if you wanted to get pro, you can get airlock jar lids and pumps to extract oxygen, but that's getting into sort of like the next phase and getting a bit more technical. But you really can just get started with a basic mason jar. And then if you wanted to, you can also add a few other things in here. So tonight I've got some frozen silver beet, or what you call Swiss chard, chopped up here that I've been wanting to use for ages. Perfect to throw this into a sauerkraut. Plus I also have some fennel seeds, maybe 2 teaspoons of fennel seeds, which is beautiful. It goes so well with cabbage. But you could use anything. Cumin, juniper berries are nice. You can use whole peppercorns. Really, it's up to you. And then again, if you're thinking about superfoods, garlic, turmeric, ginger, these will all be amazing in a ferment because the superfood properties are going to be increased. Okay, so what I've got here is I've chopped up most of this cabbage. I've just kept, what I wanted to say to you, before you start your chopping, you want to peel off the outer leaves of the cabbage. So I've done that with this whole cabbage before we got online together. And you can see I've just kind of cut them into strips. So you want to maybe have a good handful of those and just pop them to the side while you slice up the cabbage. So this is the last bit to go. And if you guys can see this, I just wanted to show you, you want to be cutting this quite thinly. Now, if you have a food processor that has the grater blade on the top, do that because that's going to save you so much time. And I love doing that. I also like the fact that my food processor does a really fine chop. And a really fine chop, for me, is better because when you do a smaller cut, it means that the salt and the fermentation process speeds up. It's a lot quicker and easier. It really breaks down the cell wall of a veggie a lot quicker and becomes a lot easier to get that salt mix going. So now that we've got this in here, you're probably thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get all of this into that jar? You're like, how does this work? Let me show you. It's magic. So what we do now is we grab the salt And now we're going to sprinkle the 2 teaspoons of Himalayan salt into this cabbage. Now there are 2 options here. You could do a light massage, which is what I'm going to do. Just trying to massage this salt in. A bigger bowl actually would help, but anyway, we're going to work with what we've got. And I'm just trying to massage that salt into the cabbage. And as I'm doing it, I'm also kind of squeezing. I'm squeezing and squelching that salt in. Let me just do this in the sink so I can really get in there. Now this takes a little, like, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes. You kind of want it, like, I would get the kids to do this. If you have kids or you have a hubby, get him to do it. This is like, or also, you know, it's a nice way also to connect to the food, right? So if you're at home and you're massaging this with your hands, obviously clean hands, you know, you want to be sending it some love, right? Thinking really nice thoughts, thinking about how beautiful this is going to be and how healthy it's going to be for your body. Because I don't know if you guys know about the Emoto studies, but it's been proven that your thoughts can actually affect the water that you're drinking or the food that you're eating. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Emoto studies. Can you give me a yes or no, a wave? Because I wanted to share with you what, yeah, the kids did. Yeah, awesome. The kids at school did a study with this rice, right? One was cooked, both were cooked. They split into 2 containers, and one was given loving praise and lots of beautiful compliments, and the other rice was sworn at and abused. And the rice that was sworn at and abused went moldy. And the one that got all the beautiful loving thoughts and praises didn't go moldy at all. So this is kind of powerful stuff. And you know, energy is really, really powerful. So, you know, we want to be sending loving thoughts, loving energy into the food always. And I think you can tell when food tastes good, like if it's being made with love. It's really important to kind of have that kind of transmit through to the food. So I'm going to just show you guys what's happening here now. So this is now the, ta-da, the cabbage. So you can see how that's shrunk down quite a bit. And now we just keep massaging until it's sort of shrinking down, getting softer. You can feel it in your hands. You also want to keep squeezing so that when you get to this stage, you kind of want to be able to, so you can see liquid coming out. Can you guys see that? There's liquid coming out of the cabbage. So you keep massaging and keep squeezing until you can feel this juice starting to come out. So I'm going to keep doing this. Yeah. So now that I can see the juices coming out, this is when it's good to go in the jar. However, this is also the time to add your veggies or your additional sort of seasonings, your like spices, or like I'm going to throw in the silver beet here now, or the Swiss chard. I'm going to throw that in. And I'm also going to throw in my fennel. Just give it a nice little quick massage in again. Another little trick too you guys might want to think about doing as well is adding in some type of fruit. Now, you could add a chopped apple in here or something that goes really nicely with the fennel and the green cabbage, which is one of my favorite things to do, is add a green apple in here, a chopped green apple. And the reason it's nice to add a bit of fruit is it actually helps with the fermentation process. So good bacteria love sugar, so they're going to go nuts on that. It's going to activate them. It's going to make them want to eat it and get started on that whole fermentation process. Now, some of you might be wondering, who's it? And fellas, the same with trees and shrubs, pot plants. Yes, they grow healthier if you talk to them. Absolutely, I totally 100% agree. I have plants at home in Sydney, my pot plants. I call them my babies. And I've given them names, and they're like my family, seriously. So I'm actually looking forward to getting home and seeing my babies very soon. I've been in New Zealand now for 5 months, so I'm feeling it's time to go back to Sydney. Hopefully the borders will be opening again soon, so we can get back to some sort of normal life. I don't know how you guys are going where you are, but COVID has certainly affected us all in some way. So you can see here, I've just obviously spooned the mix into the mason jar. Now the trick here is to get something like a rolling pin. If you have a high-powered blender, you know, like a Vitamix, that would be amazing right now, because you can use the tamper that comes with the Vitamix to push down this mix. So we really want to get a lot of pressure down into the jar and really pack in this ferment mix. So you can see here there is no oxygen. We want to try and get rid of all the gaps of air in here, get rid of any oxygen, because that's where you're going to get the chances of bad bacteria growing. And this is also, as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see right now, but you'll see as we get closer to the top, that it starts to also push more of that juice up. So you can see a lot more of that brine starting to come through. We just keep going until it's nice and firm, and then we repeat that process. Tell me, where are you guys dialing in from? I'm trying to read the comments. So it's a little tricky with my glasses. They're obviously not for long distance. So, but I'd love to know where you guys are calling in from, because I know I get quite a few people from Australia. Is there anyone coming in from America tonight? Sydney, awesome, Sydney. Yay, what's the weather like in Sydney? Tell me it's sunny and warm. Well, at least more than -5, which is what it is here. Oh, raining. Oh, wow. So it feels like winter's hitting then, yeah? Ah, drizzly in Sydney. Okay, we had a beautiful sunny day here, but still very cold. We're surrounded by snow right now in the mountains, and I think it's going to be a good ski season for any of you skiers out there. I think New Zealand is going to be the place to be. Okay, so I'm just repeating this process. As you can see, we keep going into, you know, maybe 3/4 filling the jar and then packing it down. Actually, I think this mix, because the cabbage that I got was quite big, I think this will probably do 2 1-litre mason jars. So if you guys have 2 1-litre mason jars for this recipe, I highly recommend you use both. You'll probably get two 1-litre mason jars filled with this mix. Now, this cabbage cost me about $4 from the supermarket. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen these being sold in the organics or in the health food stores for $20. So you can make 2 incredibly powerful healing elixirs for your immune system, for your health, for your gut, for what, $5, $2.50 a jar. It's amazing. So I'm just going to fill up a little bit more. I don't want to go too high. Now the reason why we want to go to the shoulder of the jar is I want to just show you guys as well. When we get to this shoulder area of the jar, we want to just see if we can get that cabbage mix down under the brine, so that you can see that there's at least, I don't know, when you push down, you can see there's a good inch of brine sitting there. Yes, you can mix in carrots and sweet potatoes, absolutely. Sweet potatoes, I mean, it would be amazing. I love to grate sweet potatoes and throw them in, and the carrots grated would be amazing as well. They add a beautiful sweetness to the mix too. Yeah, hey, Linda from Amsterdam. So good to see you, Linda. I'm going to see you on the course too. I'm so excited about that. Okay, now here's where the cabbage that we put aside comes into play. Now these are we're going to create little cigar rolls. I like to call them cigar rolls because I roll cigars all the time. But what we do is we just want to grab one of these that we've cut into strips, and we want to roll it really tightly. And these are going to act as weights to actually push down that mix so it sits underneath the brine. So you can see how I'm pushing down really firmly. So that I can actually physically see now there's a good inch of brine sitting at the top. So I'm just going to repeat that process all the way around. Just roll them up nice and tight, push it down, and then you could probably put one in the middle. I don't tend to because I know I can see that this is keeping it quite submerged, but if you want peace of mind, you could put one in the middle. Hey Sean, thanks for joining. You're late. Oh, you've missed the beginning. That's okay. What I will do is I'll be sending a replay out on Friday morning anyway. So make sure to keep an eye out for that in your email, and you'll get a replay that you can watch again from the beginning. So this is what we want to see, guys. When I don't know if you can see that clearly, but you can kind of see there's a good inch of brine sitting at the top there. Those cabbage leaves are keeping all that mix sitting underneath the brine, and that's going to guarantee you a successful ferment. Yeah, there's definitely going to be a replay, so don't panic. And yeah, so thanks for joining, Sean. And then what we want to do is pop that lid on nice and firmly. Now I recommend popping a plate underneath here, because the process now, what's going to happen is the salt kills off the bad bacteria and lets the good bacteria grow. So that is good. The good bacteria is going to start to grow. It's going to start to reproduce. It's going to start to eat the sugars and the veggies. It's going to start to create lactic acid, which is that familiar tang, that tanginess the sourness that you get from fermented foods. And during that process, as it's starting to do that, there'll be a lot of bubbles, there'll be a lot of carbon dioxide starting to happen in the jar. So this will start to expand and grow, and it may even kind of spill out over the jar, over the lid. Don't ask me how it manages to do that, because you go, well, how does that work? The lid is sealed. But trust me, it does. The juice starts to come out the top. But this is a great, when you get the bubbles and you get the juice, you know you've got a successful ferment, and it's going to be amazing. So the plate's going to help catch the juice if it starts to spill out. And now, because most of us are from Sydney, we're heading into winter, this is going to take a little bit longer. So if you want to pop it somewhere, probably, I mean, because this is a standard mason jar, you do notice it does tend to smell a little bit as it's starting to ferment. It kind of smells like old man's socks. This is the only way I can describe it. So if you don't like the smell, put it in a cooler bag, zip it up, put the plate in, cooler bag, zip it up somewhere so that it's stopping the smells. You can even maybe pop it on a balcony somewhere out of the way, or in the laundry, somewhere where it's not going to be, permeating the house. But if it's super cold where you are, it's going to take 7 days, maybe a bit longer. In summertime, maybe 3 days, depending on where you are. It just depends on the temperature. I mean, a good range is near around 22, 23 degrees. And if it's really, really cold, you could pop a little hot water bottle around it or something warm to kickstart that ferment, because the warmer it is, the quicker they take off. But, you're really going to know that it's good when, as I said, you get lots of bubbles. You can see lots of bubbles. It's lots of bubbling at the top, and you might get that juice spilling over. That, and then it really comes down to flavor. So for me personally, I love a really soft cabbage, and that means a longer ferment. But most of the time I can't wait, because I love it so much. I want to eat it within a week. But if you can, maybe do a batch, and then you can hold off 3 weeks, even longer. I mean, you can keep going and going and going with that flavor. And then, you just open the lid, have a taste. And if you're really happy with the taste and the texture, then you put it in the fridge. You want to put it in the fridge because that will slow down the ferment. It'll kind of put the bacteria to sleep, and it keeps that flavor profile where you like it. Now, just before you do go to eat, of course, though, I discard those the rolled cabbage leaves at the top. You don't want it, they're not really nice to eat. I mean, some people use them, like you could put them, use them as a wrap for something, wrap them in some, use them as a wrap for like some sort of rice or, you know, maybe like a Dalmati style kind of entree. You know, there are ways to use them, but for me personally, I just throw them because I don't like them. They're quite tough still, whereas, you know, everything that's chopped up finely is really nice to eat, really nice to use in other kinds of recipes, which brings me to the next recipe. So guys, what do you think? How easy was that? Too easy, right? Did you get the recipe written down okay? If you didn't, that's okay, don't panic. I will send you that email, but you must email me to ask for it. Please do that. Okay guys, so I'm just gonna pop that to the side, have a little quick clean up. If you've got any questions about that, please ask. And as I said, I recommend just starting small in the beginning. Add it to your foods 3 times a day. Obviously, if you wanted to have it like a condiment with your main meals, that's a perfect way to start. But, you know, once you're kind of getting used to it, your body's getting used to it over a period of a week or 2, then you can really amp it up. And, you know, I start to put it on everything. I've put it on, you know, just so many things you can do, like baked sweet potato. You can do just on top of salad. I love to mash avocado and have it like a guacamole with some, you know, corn chips. It's beautiful. Or as I said, we're going to do this bread recipe. Now this bread recipe, normally I do a raw vegan bread recipe with sauerkraut and it's done in a dehydrator, but I think, awesome, easy peasy, and yeah, rockin'. But I don't know how many of you have a dehydrator at home. If you can type yes or no in the comments, that would be amazing. Because if you do, I will provide that recipe as well, because, you know, a raw vegan bread recipe is amazing. Not only does it taste incredible, but you're going to get those amazing properties of the sauerkraut, you know, not being denatured too much through the cooking process. Okay, cool. So a few of you have a dehydrator. Awesome. So make sure you email me for the recipes tonight, guys, so I can give you that too as a little bonus. But the one I'm going to do with you tonight is going to be a cooked version. And this is from my 7-day cooked vegan cleanse, which I often run during the winter. So the loaf is 1 large loaf. So you're going to need like a loaf pan with some baking paper. And your ingredients are, if you've got your pen and paper handy, you can do 1 cup or 1.5 cups of almond meal. Or what I've done tonight, I don't know if you can see my food processor here, my little baby food processor. You could do, say, 1 cup of almond meal, 1/2 cup of gluten-free flour as well. That would work just as well. Oh, it's no worries, Linda. Thank you. I will see you soon. Okay. And yeah, awesome. Oh, you've got that. Brilliant. So this is basically the 7-day cooked vegan cleanse mineral bread recipe, but we're just going to be adding sauerkraut into the mix. Okay. So for those of you that don't have it, I'm going to run through the ingredients. We have the 1.5 cups of almond meal, you know, but again, you can use 1/2 almond, 1/2 gluten-free flour, whatever you've got in the pantry. Don't be too stressed about not having everything that you need. You can always make my plant-based recipes work with what you've got in the pantry. Then we've got 4 tablespoons of sunflower seeds, 4 tablespoons of pumpkin seeds, 3 tablespoons of chia, 4 tablespoons of flax seeds. Now I didn't have flax seeds, I only had flax meal, so I used that instead and mixed all of the seeds together with the flax. Then we have 1 tablespoon of psyllium husk. This helps to keep, you know, it spongy and binds everything together. Then we have 4 tablespoons of walnuts. They can be chopped or whole, just throw them in the food processor. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Now, I've got 3 eggs, or you can use flax eggs if you want to be, you know, completely egg-free. That's totally fine. 1 cup of cashew milk, or 1 cup of almond milk, or some type of plant-based milk. 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And then we've got 1 cup of sauerkraut. Now, this is a sauerkraut that I made last week. So this was a bit of a bit. So again, this is the thing I love about these foods, is like I've got a bit of beetroot, a bit of cabbage, a bit of, you know, whatever left over in the fridge, and I just threw it all together and made a sauerkraut, and you know, now I've got an incredible healing food that is going to last for months and months and months. So think about that, guys, when you've got food that needs to be used up in the fridge. Okay, now after the 1 cup of sauerkraut, we have 1 tablespoon of sweetener. Now I like to use things like date syrup, you can use coconut nectar, you can use maple syrup, raw honey, all that sort of stuff. These are all great sweeteners to use for this recipe. Then we've got 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and a pinch of salt. So with the method, what I've done before we got online together is I just, in a bowl, stirred through the chia, the flax, the pumpkin, and the sunflower. And I threw half of that mix into the food processor. And I've kept some of it aside so I can garnish the top of the loaf with that mix. Now what I've got also in the food processor ready to go is I've put in the walnuts and the flour, and I'm gonna also add the baking soda now. So this is the teaspoon of baking soda going in. Too easy. And then I'm gonna pulse this until it's just broken down and nicely combined. Okay, I like it a little chunky, so it's up to you guys how you want to do this. If you like it really fine, like a normal bread, then just keep going on that with the food processor. Now we're going to add in milk. So 1 cup of milk. This is cashew milk that I just quickly whizzed up in the blender. And then we're going to add in eggs. And then we're going to add in the sweetener. So I'm going to use the date syrup, which I think is quite nice for a bread because it's not too sweet. So about maybe 1 tablespoon. Salt, always add salt. It's going to help bring out the flavors of everything. Then I am going to add in my apple cider vinegar. So about 1 tablespoon. Always get the one with the mother. We know that, right? This has got all the good stuff in it. Nice enzymes, again, for digestion and good bacteria. Now we've got olive oil going in now, 3 tablespoons. You could use coconut oil too if you wanted. Just make sure it's melted. All right, now we're going to process this again. Okay, great. So that's looking good. It's a nice sort of batter. Now the last thing we want to add is the psyllium. Now the reason we add psyllium last, which is 1 tablespoon, is this acts like a sponge. It's going to suck up all that liquid and get quite rubbery. It's really powerful. So you always add that last and give it a quick little whiz through. Beautiful. Now you have an option here, guys. If you wanted, you could stir that sauerkraut through and keep it nice and chunky. Or blend it so you've just got the flavor coming through instead of the texture. I'm going to just stir it through because I think it would be nice to have a bit of texture in the bread just to see how that comes out in the oven. It will look quite nice. So I'm just going to do that in the bowl right now. Oh my God, it smells so good. Oh yeah, so the thing about the smell, you got to learn to love the smell because that is also the sign of a good ferment. So when that smells really good, I mean, as an old man socks, that's when you know you've got a really good ferment. If you're not getting that smell, then something weird's going on. And that can sometimes happen where you've probably added too much salt. And when you've added too much salt, you're going to pickle your cabbage and not ferment it. So you're not going to get the properties of that the good bacteria. Still going to taste good and it's still going to be fine, but I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's kind of what your bread batter looks like. Now that's going to go in this loaf tin. Looks pretty good. I can't wait. I just want to get out this blade. Now you want a spatula here. You want to get everything off. I hate waste. I hate seeing like half the recipe going down the drain because it's still sitting in the food processor. So get everything off, you know, with the spatula. Go nuts. Okay, so that's going to go. And the thing is, with sauerkrauts and with those tangy flavors, they go really well with, you know, all types of cheeses, plant-based cheeses and all that. You know, this would be a beautiful bread to have, like, you know, you could put some hummus underneath, or you could do some beautiful plant-based cheeses, slice up the bread and serve that with cheese on a cheese platter. I've also got a few little chopped up cranberries as well going on this bread, just for a little bit of extra sweetness. I want to show this to you guys. I hope you can see it. Okay, so there's the bread. How beautiful is that? Yay! So I've sprinkled the sunflower seeds, the pumpkin seeds, and if you have whole flax seeds, of course, and some chia on top, as well as some cranberry, just for a bit of garnish and decoration. But you know, you can throw anything on there. Some chopped up fresh herbs, some dried herbs would be perfect as well. That's going to go in the oven. So I've got that on the oven at 180. Yeah, so 180 for 45 minutes. But if that, I would just check it, you know, if you've got a hot oven. Thanks, ladies. Yeah, it looks so good, right? Yeah, so with the eggs, it was 3 eggs in the recipe, but you know, honestly, you could get away with 2. You don't really need to use 3. You could use 2 flax eggs. So if any of you are unfamiliar with flax eggs, it's just literally like 1 tablespoon of flax and then maybe 2 tablespoons of water stirred through, creates 1 egg, right? 1 flax eggs, and that basically just acts as a binder. It basically acts like a normal egg would. It's probably, you know, yeah, it's perfect for you guys if you don't want to be doing eggs. So there we have it, guys. That is just the beginning, right, of just 1 or 2 basic recipes that you can be doing at home, yeah, to be increasing your immune system, increasing gut health, detoxifying your body, balancing hormones, zapping tumors. I mean, there's just so many benefits to having sauerkraut as a staple in your fridge. And now you've got a recipe tonight that you can also use to play with the ingredients of the sauerkraut. And as I said, it is an acquired taste. So when I first started working with sauerkraut and tasting sauerkraut, I used to smash it up in avocado and do it with some salt and put it on a cracker. And as I started to develop that flavor and that profile for it, I began to crave it. Like I could not get enough of it. And as I said to you, it was so powerful for me on the healing journey. As I started to eat more and more, I had quite a strong die-off. But I mean, after that, I was back to feeling normal and curing myself of systemic candida. And I have to say, sauerkraut was a key star to that process. So really hope you guys get some benefit out of that, and get started in the kitchen, make some sauerkraut. You can even get, like, I don't know, you can get a whole, you know, bunch of different cabbages and some friends together and all get in the kitchen and get into the massage session together. And then swap different flavors. Like a lot of people, like with kombucha, you know, we share scobies and kombucha around. We share different flavors of sauerkraut because it's always fun to keep each other inspired and get people healthier too. It's so important. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for joining, and I hope to see you guys for the next one. I'm going to be doing another little immunity essentials cooking class, hopefully next week. So if you're not on the subscriber list, we'll get you on there so you can be informed for the next one that's coming. Okay, thank you so much for joining. Lots of love from Chile, New Zealand, and hope to see you in Sydney soon. Bye for now. Yay, bye. Thank you. Thanks, guys.